It's perfect. It is time. My child, you were told not to worship any false idols. What I see here is... it is unforgivable.
But my lord, he is an idol. He has slain the devil.
I see no devil slain. Satan still reigns in hell for another 5,000 years.
No, he reportedly murdered the CEO of a private healthcare insurance company.
Why didn't you just say so? In that case, he needs something much more than just a few shitty, printed photographs. He needs to be written into the New Testament. Here. Right.
Can you too free him of his binds, my lord?
Nah, I can't do jack shit.
In my short time on YouTube, I've gotten quite a lot of comments from people who disagree with me. Now, most of these comments usually come from a place of bad faith, with people adding in personal attacks because simply saying that you disagree is not enough on the internet. No, on top of disagreeing with me, they have to be mean. The world is such a cruel and cold place. In the end, though, no matter what someone comments, I'll learn to move on from it. Watching the sunset at the end of every day reminds me that whatever some douche from Oklahoma is saying about me in my comment section doesn't really matter. Your hair looks stupid. I know. Disagreements, be it in good or bad faith, are a part of life. It's something that everyone, whether they're in the public eye or not, must accept. However, in my short span of life, I've come to realize that there are a few things that nearly everyone, gay, straight, trans, black, indigenous, Republican, Democrat, you name it, can all agree on. Inflation, we hate that, right? Right? Maybe we don't all agree on the cause or the solution, but we certainly don't like it. I mean, I know I hate going to Walmart and buying $30 worth of groceries that have an extra zero at the end. Saw, the best horror franchise ever made. Of course, we can all agree on that, but there's one thing that I think my very short list is missing. Healthcare. We all really fucking hate that one. Almost every American, save for the rich, has had a bad experience with the healthcare system. Claims being denied, being kept on hold for hours only to be told that you have yet another number to call to get your issue resolved, sky-high prices for no real benefits, needing to get on a new insurance policy but the enrollment period has closed, having copays out the ass. Need I continue? As of December 2024, 25.3 million Americans were uninsured. The majority of those were low-income families. A recent Gallup poll found that just 28% of respondents described the quality of health insurance in the US as good or excellent. Now, who the fuck could be saying that, right? On top of this, a 2022 Gallup poll found that over half of Americans believe that the government should ensure coverage for Americans, but preferred the system be run by private businesses and not publicly funded by the government. As reported by KFF this past month, however, although difficult to establish direct causality, research has linked Medicaid expansion to improved health outcomes, including lower mortality rates from cancer, cardiovascular disease, liver disease, and maternal mortality. Again, while we may all hate healthcare, we clearly do not agree on what the cause or solution to the problem is. On the morning of December 4th, Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was shot and killed in Manhattan while walking to the company's annual investor conference. To those at the top, it was shocking. To the rest of us, it was unsurprising. Today we'll be covering this murder as well as the primary suspect, the media's coverage, and the problems with healthcare in America, or lack thereof. Healthcare is only given to those who can afford it, silly. Can't pay for it? Just die.
Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's.
And the hashtag Free Luigi Mangione is something that's still trending even at this hour. Aaron.
Wackos are treating suspected killer Luigi Mangione as a folk hero. First, by salivating over his Italian good looks.
Just a cold-blooded, horrible killing, and how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually.
If we're going to talk about healthcare, we have to talk about capitalism. I know! You're all sick of hearing how it's the cause of all the world's problems. But is that really wrong, though? Most people don't often sit down and think about how fucked up capitalism really is. A lot of people don't truly even understand what it is. I certainly don't know everything, and I don't want to come across like I'm all-knowing or better than anyone because I contemplate capitalism. That's going to be the title of my memoir, Contemplating Capitalism. And why I wasn't the poster child for the American dream. I don't blame people for not setting aside time to question the different kinds of oppressive systems that we live under. It's hard enough just living. I mean, who the fuck has time to do all that? Apparently me. My New Year's resolution is to make at least one new friend. The fact that we have to pay for our basic survival needs, food, water, shelter, is legitimately insane. More than that, the fact that these needs have been privatized and sold to us is even more insane. Sometimes I feel like I'm going insane because it seems like not enough people are making a big enough stir over all of this. I am, of course, actually clinically insane. Go watch any of my previous videos and you will see that. But hey, my point still stands, alright? Consider this. Water is free, a gift that the earth and or God has granted us in order to survive. But instead of all of our communities having free access to clean water, private companies have commodified it and can control its access, sometimes even depriving impoverished communities around the world of their water sources in order to distribute it to wealthier countries. It takes work to provide a large amount of people with clean water sources straight to their home. So those people need to be paid. I mean, that makes sense. That's obvious, right? For example, if you pay a water bill every month, you're paying for your city to clean it and transport it to your place of residence. You're not technically paying for the water itself. If you use a lot of water for whatever reason, you'll have to pay more. If we're going to insist that water costs money, then why don't the city's residents all collectively pay so that no one has to receive a bill for fucking water ever again? But no, that's communism, and that's bad. Take in 2023, when my home state started experiencing issues with their water systems becoming privatized. Alex Brown wrote for Fast Company saying, "The new push to privatize sewer services follows the passage of a state law in 2016 that allows a dollar value of water systems to include not just pipes and plants, but market factors such as their worth to the community, allowing them to be sold at much higher prices. The deals provide a short-term cash boost for local governments, which can struggle to cover the cost of aging infrastructure. But critics say the public services and tax savings that governments might provide residents with the quick money don't make up for the rate hikes." Research published last year in Water Policy, the journal of the international think tank World Water Council, surveyed the United States' 500 largest water systems and found that private ownership was the most significant variable in driving up utility bills, even more than aging infrastructure, water supply, and local regulations. Marcela Gonzalez Rivas, an associate professor in the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh and one of the study's authors, said in the article that providing water is really expensive as it is. If you then add making a profit as part of the cost of the service, then it just makes it really unaffordable. We were told that without a sale, our rates would go up 78% to fund $12 million of infrastructure improvements, said Pete Mrozinski, a co-founder of the group in New Garden Township that opposed the sale to Aqua, Pennsylvania. After the sale, our rates went up 85% with no infrastructure improvements. This is, of course, just one example of the harms of water access being owned and controlled by private companies. Despite political divides, a lot of people consider the bottom of the hierarchy of needs to be basic human rights that everyone, regardless of income, is deserving of. Of course, there would be issues with people getting all of their water for free. Inevitably, someone will use more than they need just because they can. I don't claim to have tangible solutions. I'm just trying to make a point that when we make human survival needs for profit, shit really hits the fan. Healthcare can also be added to that list of hierarchical needs, since despite thousands of years of evolution, we are still incredibly fragile and highly susceptible to the worst illnesses on planet Earth. Modern medicine, however, has been our saving grace. But like everything else, it comes with a price. I'm sure you all know how medical bills work if something isn't covered by your insurance. If you happen to have it, you'll probably be paying out the ass for it. Take a prescription of insulin. If you don't have insurance, or if it isn't covered by your insurance for whatever reason, prices with a GoodRx coupon for various brands, because yes, you need a coupon in order to purchase life-saving medicine, range from $50 all the way up to $500. What's worse is the retail price, the price without the coupon, is usually much higher. Again, that's just one example. Say like me, you needed to get an MRI done. Some insurance companies may make it a lot harder to get that service covered. Maybe you can't walk, but they expect you to try physical therapy first, before they'll even consider covering a scan that will actually show what's wrong with you. Maybe they won't even cover it at all, since MRIs are expensive to run. That's what makes for-profit healthcare companies so sickening. The more claims they deny, the more money they make. That's quite literally how it works. UnitedHealthcare, as reported by The New Yorker, had $281 billion in revenue in 2023, and Thompson, who became a CEO in 2021, had raised annual profits from $12 billion to $16 billion during his tenure. He received more than $10 million in compensation last year. The author of this article then went on to talk about a new policy from Blue Cross Blue Shield that was recently reversed. The company had announced that in certain states starting in 2025, it would no longer pay for anesthesia if a surgery passed a pre-allotted time limit. The cost of the extra anesthesia would be passed from Anthem, whose year-over-year net income was reported in June to have increased by more than 24% to $2.3 billion to the patient. While all private healthcare insurance companies are inherently bad, as this example proves, UnitedHealthcare was bad, and as we all probably know by now, had the highest claim denial rate in the entire country, with about a third of all claims being denied. This is much higher than the industry standard. A denied claim for someone who isn't rich can be a matter of life or death. More than that, if you can't afford to keep your insurance anymore, or if you don't see the likely staggering monthly cost providing you any reward, then you're probably going to admit having health insurance altogether. Nearly half, 49%, of uninsured adults say they have difficulty affording healthcare costs, more than double the share of those with private insurance, 21%. These costs can quickly translate into medical debt since most people who are uninsured have low or moderate incomes and have little, if any, savings. More than 6 in 10, 62% of uninsured adults report having healthcare debt compared to over 4 in 10, 44% of insured adults. People who don't have insurance, or people who may have poor insurance, are less likely to seek treatment and often live with chronic pain. That, or they literally die from the lack of care. For example, as reported in a 2024 review, key findings reveal that rural populations have a significantly higher prevalence of chronic pain and are more likely to experience severe pain. Economic and systemic barriers include a shortage of pain specialists, limited access to non-pharmacological treatments, and inadequate insurance coverage. Sorry, that was a lot of big words for me. I talked quite extensively about healthcare in rural areas in a video I did about JD Vance's hillbilly elegy a few months back, so check that out if you wish. Despite our alleged shooter's wealthy family background, he also suffered from chronic pain, which can obviously affect anyone regardless of their socioeconomic background. Chronic pain can lead to all sorts of issues in someone's life, depending on their symptoms and its severity. Yet again, those who are most impacted by this kind of pain are low-income people, particularly those in rural areas. I find it strange that when I started experiencing my worst symptoms, the CEO of a giant healthcare company was murdered, allegedly, by a man who also had chronic back pain. Long story short, if you don't know my lore, I've been suffering with chronic back pain for about 3 years now. I've also dealt with sciatic pain on and off for the past 3 years in my left hamstring. 2 weeks before this past Thanksgiving, I bent over to do a single leg RDL and felt something go terribly wrong in my back. I got an MRI done and it turns out I have 2 herniated discs at the base of my spine, and one of them is fucking huge. I also, if you couldn't tell, happen to live in a rural area. Thankfully, I have state insurance because I'm poor enough for it, and Medicaid happens to cover a lot. That being said, I have to drive over an hour to see my neurologist. The earliest a pain management facility could get me in for a shot in my spine was 6 weeks from when I first got my MRI done, and I've had to make all sorts of phone calls about my prescriptions, insurance approvals, and appointments. It sucks. I don't even know if I'm going to need to get surgery yet. I check all the time to make sure I didn't pee or shit myself without realizing. I relate to this man on a much more personal level, but like most Americans, I also relate to the struggle of dealing with health insurance. It sucks, but it's not as bad as it could be if I had worse insurance, or if, God forbid, I had no insurance. KFF found that cost is the most commonly cited reason for being uninsured. In 2023, 63.2% of uninsured adults ages 18 to 64 said they were uninsured because coverage is not affordable. Other reasons included not being eligible for coverage, 27%, not needing or wanting coverage, 26.6%, and signing up being too difficult, 23.9%. Being uninsured can also prove deadly for people. A 2009 study from the American Journal of Public Health found that up to 45,000 deaths annually can be linked to a lack of health insurance. The study conducted at Harvard Medical School and Cambridge Health Alliance found that uninsured working-age Americans have a 40% higher risk of death than their privately insured counterparts, up from a 25% excess death rate found in 1993. While the amount of uninsured Americans has gone down significantly since 2009, the cost of living has only increased. Obviously, I'm not a data analyst, but I would go out on a limb and say that today's number of deaths linked to a lack of coverage is at the very least similar to this number from 2009. Over 45 million Americans today are insured with UnitedHealthcare. While this particular study only covered the uninsured population, I don't doubt that you could tack more deaths onto that number that occurred due to denied claims. An analyst from a health policy research organization, KFF, found that major medical insurers offering plans to individuals via the healthcare.gov marketplace rejected nearly 1 in 5 in-network claims in 2021. Serious health and financial consequences arise as a direct result of health insurance problems, and consumers whose problems include denied claims are far more likely to have needed care delayed or denied, to experience a decline in health status, and to face higher out-of-pocket costs, according to a report on the KFF survey. However, as reported by CNN, the majority of uninsured U.S. adults had at least one issue, including a denial of claims with their health insurance in the span of a year, according to a survey released in June 2023 by KFF. Following the killing of UnitedHealthcare's CEO came people sharing their stories of denied claims. My son was scheduled to have surgery to correct his pectum exavictum in 2022. His surgeon said he met all the medically required criteria. 2 days before the surgery, UHC denied the surgery. Apparently the reasoning was that my 22-year-old son had 82% lung capacity based on the test due to this chronic condition, and they only approved patients 80% or less.
That 3% really makes a difference in our pockets.
One user on Reddit shared a photo from someone in their area with an apparent written claim denial from UnitedHealthcare. In it, it says, "You were admitted to the hospital on 11/29/2024. This day does not meet the guidelines. You do not have to be admitted as an inpatient to the hospital for this care." The reason for their hospital stay was a pulmonary embolism. Sorry you had a stroke, but you're gonna have to learn to walk again all on your own. Users under the post debated as to whether the denial was even written by an actual human due to the language used. As it turns out, back in November, a lawsuit was filed against UnitedHealthcare, alleging that they used an AI system with a 90% error rate to deny claims. According to the lawsuit, UnitedHealth started using NH-Predict in at least November 2019, and it is still in use. The algorithm estimates how much post-acute care a patient on a Medicare Advantage plan will need after an acute injury, illness, or event, like a fall or a stroke. It's unclear how NH-Predict works exactly, but it reportedly estimates post-acute care by pulling information from a database containing medical cases from 6 million patients. NaviHealth case managers plug in certain information about a given patient, including age, living situation, and physical functions, and the AI algorithm spits out estimates based on similar patients in the database. The algorithm estimates medical needs, length of stay, and discharge dates. In a statement to Ars Technica, a subsidiary of UnitedHealth, Opium, said that the NaviHealth Predict tool is not used to make coverage determinations. The tool is used as a guide to help us inform providers, families, and other caregivers about what sort of assistance and care the patient may need in both the facility and after returning home. Coverage decisions are based on CMS coverage criteria and the terms of the member's plan. This lawsuit has no merit, and we will defend ourselves vigorously. The lawsuit argues against that, however, claiming that case managers were trained to stick to the AI algorithm's decisions, despite what a healthcare professional may be arguing otherwise in an appeal. Even before the shooting, you can find post upon post of people sharing their claim denials online. UnitedHealthcare partially denying coverage even though my policy covers it. UHC denied stay in hospital for birth. I don't find it surprising at all that someone would try to take matters into their own hands and murder the CEO of one of the worst insurance companies in this country. Not that I support it. On December 4th, shortly before 7 a.m., a gunman masked in the freezing temperatures was lying in wait before opening fire on Thompson outside the Hilton Midtown, according to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. The primary suspect, as of right now, is 27-year-old Luigi Mangione. At the site of the shooting, police say that there was the word "depose" written on a shell casing from a round that was fired into the UnitedHealthcare CEO, and "delay" written on a live round the gunman cleared out when the gun appeared to jam. After fixing the malfunction, he proceeded to shoot one more time before running off. People have connected the words to a popular book about insurance companies' persistent denials, titled "Delay, Deny, Defend." After the shooting, the suspect apparently fled on an e-bike and passed a Starbucks where he was seen minutes before the shooting. He was then seen at Center Drive in Central Park. He exited Central Park at 77th Street and Central Park West. At 86th and Columbus Avenue, he left his bike and took a bus to the Port Authority bus facility at 178th Street and Broadway, where he took a bus out of the city. Another popular surveillance video was captured of the suspect at the High New York City hostel at 891 Amsterdam Avenue days before the shooting. The alleged suspect was finally caught after a McDonald's customer in Altoona, Pennsylvania, told an employee that they recognized him. The employee then reported him to the police. During the search of Mangione's backpack, officers allegedly found a black 3D printed pistol and a black silencer, which was also 3D printed. According to the criminal complaint, Mangione was also in possession of a 3-page handwritten document that NYPD Commissioner Tisch said speaks to both his motivation and mindset. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID matching the ID of our suspect, used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident, Tisch said. At first, the media and the police did not release this so-called manifesto. Journalist Ken Klippelstein then published the alleged document that was later confirmed by the police to be legitimate, saying, "I've obtained a copy of suspected killer Luigi Mangione's manifesto," the real one, not the forgery circulating online. Major media outlets are also in possession of the document, but have refused to publish it and have not even articulated a reason why. The document starts out by saying, "To the feds, I'll keep this short, because I do respect what you do for our country."
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy this and not join them!
It goes on to say, "Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the US has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these indecipherable has simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit, because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed, example Rosenthal, Moore, decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It's not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at played. Evidently, I'm the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Was anything he wrote wrong? I don't think so. Again, I'm not condoning or promoting violence. I'm simply talking about the criticisms that he made of the healthcare system. On top of these details that prove the alleged shooter's motive, we have social media posts that we can sleuth through as well. That's the beautiful thing about the world today. Someone can post online just days before committing a crime. I mean, imagine if Jeffrey Dahmer had Twitter. Soon after the murder, basement dwellers were able to find Luigi Mangione's Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and Goodreads accounts, which highlighted some interesting things about him. First of all, Luigi Mangione wasn't poor. He graduated valedictorian at a private school and went to the University of Pennsylvania, where he graduated with a master's and a bachelor's degree. His parents' wealth mostly came from real estate, with a few other streams of good income such as the Hayfields Country Club in Hunt Valley, which they purchased in the 80s. According to a BBC article, the Mangione name, for decades, has meant something entirely different: wealth, power, prominence, philanthropy, particularly within the Italian community of Baltimore. They're one of, if not the most respected Italian families in the area, according to Giovanni Acquia Blatterman. This is a huge point of contention for major media outlets. I mean, poor people are the ones who are supposed to do bad things, especially the black ones. How could a young, well-off, white, debatable, man do something like this? An NYT article title reads, "Suspect in CEO killing withdrew from a life of privilege and promise." No, he got fucked by the system too. Developed a class conscience, realized how fucked this country is, and acted on it in a violent way. It's not surprising if you aren't 5 times removed from the average American. Another reason why people suspect that Luigi Mangione had gripes with the healthcare system was because of back issues that he had detailed online and with his friends and family. Luigi apparently suffered from chronic back pain due to an old injury. In 2022, he left his last known address in Hawaii due to his pain being worsened from the physical activity he was doing. One man who knew Luigi from this time in Hawaii said that Luigi avoided dating because he couldn't be physically intimate with partners due to the pain. One part of his header on his still public Twitter account is an x-ray of what is allegedly his spine. An orthopedist told CBS News that the image appeared to show a hardware fusion, likely for a condition called spondylolithias, which is when a vertebrae slips out of alignment. Mangione says on Reddit that he had spinal surgery in July 2023. In October, he indicated that the operation had gone well, saying that he was taking zero pain meds and he hadn't had a bad day since the surgery, 8 days before. In February 2024, Mangione said the surgery came after 1.5 years of failed conservative treatment. According to Luigi's friends and family, he had gone no contact months prior to the shooting and was supposedly traveling during that time. One friend of his said that he had video called Luigi in May this past year and claims that Luigi was in Japan during that time. In September of this past year, a cousin of Luigi sent text messages to a few of his high school classmates, saying, "Have you heard anything from him in the past couple of months? Or know anyone who has? He got back surgery about 6 months ago and we haven't heard from him since." This text message, however, doesn't line up with other reports of when Luigi's surgery was, which was suspected to have been performed in summer of 2023, not 2024. Mangione's mother filed a missing persons case with the San Francisco Police Department on November 18th, according to the San Francisco Standard. Based on the date and contents of that text message, Mangione had not been heard from for a couple of months before that. Although Luigi couldn't be heard from by his family and friends, he was active on social media during this time. For example, his last activity on Twitter was this past June. On Reddit, he was active under the username user Mr. Cactus. He was active in a subreddit centered around his suspected spinal condition, saying that his condition went bad to the point where I felt it every day. He also detailed his pain in various different posts, as well as his spinal fusion surgery that he underwent in 2023. Even more interesting was his Goodreads history. Unlike Luigi's Reddit account, it is still available to view, but his reviews and reading history has since been privatized. The internet, however, does not forget. One Redditor posted screenshots of his full Goodreads history before it was made private. Among Luigi's reading history is a biography of Elon Musk, Steve-O's memoir, The Lorax, a few self-help books, and some Hawaii travel guidebooks. Notably, Luigi reviewed and rated the Unabomber's Manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. Luigi writes, "It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly write this off as the manifesto of a lunatic, but it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary." He went on to quote another take that someone posted online. "When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution." I just really hope that if I ever lost my mind, that people wouldn't analyze my social media post. Well, in that case, if they're looking at that, they probably already think I've lost it already. The thing is, all of this is very incriminating, but the justice system is allegedly innocent until proven guilty. So why is everyone already assuming that Luigi is the murderer? Obviously, everything that I just went over does not help his plea of innocence, but there's a large amount of people online who genuinely believe that Luigi is not the actual suspect. And no, they're not saying it ironically, they're completely serious about this. Of course, I was with Luigi on the morning of December 4th, so I know that he's innocent anyway. In their first court appearance, Luigi Mangione's defense attorney, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, said that Luigi would be pleading innocent. She wanted to say that she feels that he has been denied a presumption of innocence by the court, and has been instead turned into a political spectacle for the media. Luigi also spoke up during this appearance, claiming that the $10,000 worth of cash that was found in one of his bags wasn't his. I don't know where any of that money came from. I'm not sure if it was planted, and also, that bag was waterproof, so I don't know about any criminal sophistication, he said. Including his multiple murder charges in New York and other charges that he's facing in Pennsylvania, Luigi was also charged with murder as an act of terrorism. I'm going to leave some videos linked down below from people who are much more knowledgeable with the law than I am. But in short, legally speaking, terrorism is usually defined as the use of violence or the threat of violence to achieve a political goal by creating fear in a population. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said Thompson's death on a midtown Manhattan street was a killing that was intended to evoke terror, and we've seen that reaction. This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation, the district attorney said. Many people, however, have questioned whether this murder actually warrants terrorism charges. For example, while it has happened a few times in the past, it is rare that school shooters get charged with acts of terrorism. However, as USA Today reported, some states don't have laws criminalizing domestic terrorism, and more specifically in New York, where Luigi is being charged, prosecutors can charge certain crimes as acts of terrorism if they believe a suspect meant to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence the policy of a unit of government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a unit of government by murder, assassination, or kidnapping. To a lot of people, however, this just seems like a simple case of the criminal justice system using certain charges whenever they please. In one way, it makes sense that they would try to charge him with terrorism, but I also understand why people think that they're just doing this to be extra in order to make a point, that the law especially doesn't like it when a rich and powerful person is murdered. On top of this, the prosecutors are pushing for the death penalty, which, again, is not something that the law regularly convicts even mass shooters with. But still, Luigi has presumed innocence, and there are a ton of people online who believe that he is actually innocent. Am I the only one who thinks that Luigi Mangione is not the actual shooter? I would imagine a premeditated murder done at this capacity, the killer would not have left behind any evidence. Something isn't adding up to me. Luigi Mangione could possibly be the wrong suspect. Think about it. If Mangione really was the killer, his behavior doesn't make sense at all. He wasn't careful at all. It's chilling how perfectly all the clues seem to point to him. Almost like it's scripted. Could Mangione be a convenient scapegoat for someone else's crime? Basically, people are comparing the different jackets, backpacks, and facial features from the different security footage, claiming that they aren't all the same person. Police say Mangione spent 10 days in New York City, arriving before Thanksgiving. Police also reveal that they found a backpack that belonged to Mangione that was abandoned in Central Park, stuffed with Monopoly money. Cops in Pennsylvania, where Mangione was arrested on Monday, said that he possessed a backpack there too. On the way to his first hearing, Luigi shouted, "This is extremely unjust. It's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience." What he was referring to, who knows? After the shooting, in an interview with NBC, Thompson's widow, Paulette, told the network that there had been some threats against her husband, potentially related to a lack of coverage. I don't know the details. She said to CNN following her husband's death that we are shattered to hear about the senseless killing of our beloved Brian. Brian was an incredibly loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest and touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our 2 sons and will be greatly missed. Here's the thing, I don't doubt that he was probably a good parent. But terrible people can be good parents too. I obviously cannot condone the murder of Brian Thompson. I do think it's sad, however, only because this country has gotten to this point. I think it's sad that we feel like nothing else has worked, and that someone felt the need to murder someone. Contrary to his family's image of him, however, Brian was far from a loving, generous, and talented man to the public, although he did touch many people's lives by ruining them. But I'm sorry, I should be saying something different. Brian Thompson's death was an unwarranted act of violence. The killer deserves to be punished. He's an evil, psychotic terrorist, not a hero. That is, of course, what I actually believe. It's not my Neuralink making me say that, no. Ken Kipelstein recently reported that if you're a social media user who's expressed anything other than condemnation for the murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, counterterrorism authorities might consider you an extremist. Days after the murder, the NYPD circulated an intelligence report focusing not just on alleged killer Luigi Mangione, but even ordinary people expressing sympathy for him online, warning of a wide range of extremists that may view Mangione as a martyr. The report's title singles out disdain for corporate greed. Put me on another list! I don't care anymore! I've seen the black Cadillacs drive past my house one too many times, okay? That's a joke, but also I do have pretty bad paranoia because that did actually happen to me once, a few weeks ago. Following this murder, the internet went batshit crazy for Luigi Mangione. People were posting thirst traps, being horny on Maine, a cardinal sin, and expressing outright support for the suspected murderer. The mainstream media was shocked into silence. Well, only for a bit until they started reporting on it like the most out-of-touch asswipes you've ever seen. Matt Bernstein recently did a great episode in his podcast about this phenomenon, which I will link down below. In short, like I pointed out with the New York Times article from earlier, the media's coverage has been vastly different from the reaction of the common man. Article after article, coverage after coverage of a bunch of assholes being legitimately shocked that anyone could empathize with an alleged murderer. People expressing anything except explicit condemnation of this murder garnered a lot of surprise from mainstream media outlets. Here's the thing, I don't doubt for one second that if the suspect wasn't a conventionally attractive white man, that we'd probably be seeing a different story here. but I do not think that that is the primary motivator of the public support for him. Like I said earlier, I personally can connect with his life and empathize with his pain. Again, I do not support the murder of Brian Thompson. I'm not encouraging violence or criminal behavior in any way. However, I understand the killer's motivations, whoever that person may be. If it's Luigi Mangione, then I can empathize with him because of the pain he's experienced. If it's not Luigi, then I understand why someone, whoever that is, would choose to kill such a truly terrible individual. I don't condone it. I understand it. Particularly interesting has been the reaction within the right. One Fox News host, Laura Ingraham, be grateful if you don't know who that is, ranted for a full 9 minutes straight following the internet's reaction, calling it twisted hero worship, while calling Daniel Penny, the man who killed Jordan Neely while holding him in chokehold for 6 minutes, a hero. Even more interesting was the reaction from Ben Shapiro fans under videos he made following the assassination. After making multiple videos about the situation, Benjamin's fans flooded every single one with an overwhelming amount of dislikes and tons of negative comments, calling him out for severely out-of-touch takes. Under a video titled, "A Shocking Targeted Attack, and the Left Celebrates," where Benjamin mostly rants about journalist Taylor Lorenz, 2 top comments read, "The perfect out-of-touch response from a rich kid who never struggled," and "Starting to realize your entire career is built off getting ordinary, working folks to hate each other. Canceling my Daily Wire subscription." In another video titled, "The Evil Revolutionary Left Cheers Murder," a comment reads, "Don't say you're pro-life and then side with health insurance companies." Another, "I'm not buying this left versus right shit anymore, Ben. I want healthcare for my family." He hasn't discussed the situation in 3 weeks. Donald Trump even went out of his way to answer a question during a press conference at his Mar-a-Lago estate, calling people's support for Luigi Mangione a sickness. "A terrible, it's a sickness." I'm trying to get better, okay? Yeah, your billionaire president-elect really cares about you, Billy Bob. Remember earlier when I brought up that extra charge being added onto Luigi's already CVS receipt-long list of charges? The domestic terrorism one? Well, get this. New York State is considering creating a special hotline exclusively for CEOs to report perceived threats, CNN reported. Well, it's a good thing they've got a hotline for people like me too. It's called the Suicide Hotline. New York Governor Kathy Hochul told MSNBC's Morning Joe about her plans to hold a proactive meeting on Tuesday with 175 corporate representatives, as well as a Homeland Security and counterterrorism officials, to discuss how to share intelligence with corporate security. This will only work if the hotline places them on hold for several hours, only to tell them that they need to call another number. No, but seriously, this is not only ridiculous, but extremely concerning. As Ken Klippenstein reported in this article, the meeting is one of several signs that officials are trying to elevate the murder to a matter of domestic terrorism, possibly meaning that if one of us were to express support, or even anything except for condemnation of the suspect, then we could be put on lists for suspected terrorists. Remember the 9/11 Patriot Act? This isn't that far of a reach in my opinion. The week of December 8th, actually, Florida authorities charged a mother of 3 with threats to conduct a mass shooting or act of terrorism. The mother allegedly said in a phone call with Blue Cross Blue Shield, delay, deny, depose, and told the company that, "You people are next," after she had had a health insurance claim denied. Klippenstein said it better than me. Obviously not something she should have said, which she recognizes, having apologized for the remark, but it seems like quite a reach to call that terrorism. By elevating this to a matter of terrorism, it sets a dangerous precedent, one that makes anger and or criticisms of the healthcare industry into threats of terrorism. The words delay, deny, depose may soon be seen by certain governments as threats. They already are. I'm not saying this because I want to stoke fear or encourage anyone to take anything into their own hands. I'm just giving my personal opinion on the matter. The bottom line is that the top 1% doesn't give a shit about the rest of us. After this assassination, some people are waking up to that fact. Maybe some have come to the realization that the rich really only care about lining their own pockets. The thing is, the rich are called the 1% for a reason. They're not a majority. We are strong in our numbers, and they know this. When the culture war ends, the class war will persist. I'm again not promoting violence or criminal acts, I'm just pointing out a fact that they want us to forget. I would end this section with a joke, but my 9/11 jokes already towed the line with YouTube enough. And that was 23 years ago, not 23 days ago. I think that this moment will mark a pivotal point in American history. People are fed up with the system, enough to commit acts of violence like murder. My condolences for those who've been negatively impacted by the death of the UnitedHealthcare CEO. I will be sending condolence letters to all 20 of you. Well, that's it for me, and that's it for this video. If you want to share your bad experiences with healthcare, please feel free to share them down below. This is a safe space. If you have any thoughts on anything I discussed in this video, Luigi Mangione, the UnitedHealthcare CEO, healthcare in general, please comment them down below. Comment anything you want to comment down below. If you like me, you can subscribe. I post videos here on this channel every week about whatever I feel like talking about. So if that sounds like your thing, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you know when I post a video. Before the video ends, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members who are part of my Alpha and Delta tiers. Thank you so much to Kat the Time Lord and Olivia Schutt. I truly appreciate all of your continued support, and thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. Patreon is one of the best ways to support me directly, so if you want to become a member, the link will be down below. Anyway, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, but more importantly than that, I really hope I see you in the next video. you better be there watching me. Not doing anything else in the background, just watching me. You'll be there, right? Okay, bye.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.